All right, let's roll. Welcome to the smartest people in the room. We are glad you are here, and just by showing up today, you are already demonstrating your very own smarts. Today, I'm pleased to present two amazingly talented and just incredibly good humans. I can't believe our good fortune in celebrating these two today. Peggy Dold returns in the host seat for the third time, I believe, and she is bringing a dear friend of hers from a long time ago, Doug E. Fresh. Yes, the Doug E. Fresh, ladies and gentlemen. This is such an honor for me. I'm not going to go through my normal routine because I don't want to get in the way of these two. But before we get started, please let me take care of just a little bit of business. To the audience, please feel free to introduce yourselves today. Do it in the chat window. The reason we do these webinars is twofold. First, we want to showcase really smart people in the amazing work they do day to day in the music industry. But the second reason is a bit more nuanced. Many of you know that I'm a music industry headhunter. I run the music practice at Turnkey ZRG, and I place music executives in roles throughout the industry. So by definition and function, I help people connect with companies. In this series, my goal is to help you make more connections, and I invite you to take full advantage of that opportunity. Specifically, I invite you to engage with the speakers and the other attendees in the chat of the Zoom. Please introduce yourselves, share your LinkedIn profile, and say hello to your friends, and please make some new ones. And ask questions of our speakers. We will try to address as many of those as possible during the session. And please make sure your chat is set to address everyone, not just the host and speakers. I want to thank our program sponsors, for without their support, we could not keep this series free. Special thanks to First Horizon Bank, Turnkey ZRG, the Tennessee Entertainment Commission, MedJet, Tennessee Brew Works, Project Music, and Better Than Booze. So let's get down to business. Today, we welcome back Peggy Dold. Peggy is no stranger to this platform. She's hosted 3 others in the past. She is the most well-connected international music executive that I know, and I know a lot of them. And she is bringing a very special friend of hers today, none other than Doug E. Fresh. When Peggy approached me about doing this, I almost came out of my shoes. She gets the credit for delivering this one today, and I am going to hand it off to her now to take it away. Please enjoy today's session. It's going to be very special.
Well, thank you, Tom. Those are wonderful words. I want to acknowledge that it's really important, and I'm thrilled that Smartest People in the Room is acknowledging and paying honor to the 50 years of hip hop. This truly is a year of celebration of culture, music, artistry, and community. Doug, I want to thank you for being here and for sharing your personal hip hop story. You were there then, and you are here now. I'm not going to go through the list of recordings, awards, TV appearances, and who has sampled you, because we don't have that kind of time. Suffice it to say, you are one of the most beloved original artists in hip hop, and your music has been sampled by countless hip hop and pop artists over the last 4 to 5 decades, while you continue to create and perform. This career sustainability is something I'd like to dive into in this conversation. With your permission, I'd like to structure this in the following way. Talk a bit about where you've been, where you are, and where you're going, with one caveat: we have to keep it real. You once wrote, "A man without history is like a tree without roots." Let's start with where you've been. Dougie Fresh 1.0.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Doug? Okay, Doug, you just froze.
Hear me?
Doug?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can now. Mr. Fresh, are you there?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, can you hear us?
Yeah, yeah. I'm hearing everything you say, but there's a stop. Like yours, now you're on. And It's okay now.
Okay.
All
So-
right. So what was the question?
So let's start with where you've been. Dougie Fresh 1.0.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a very interesting question because what's the song? Been around the world and yeah. So it's been going on for quite a while. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for inviting me to this special room because everybody don't get invited to the smartest people in the room. So shout out to all of y'all in the room. Shout out to y'all. And if you are smart, you understand that sometimes with this technology, there's these little glitches that come into play. So excuse that because we're going to work through it. And if it's something that I say that you don't get, or if there's a freeze in this phone, in this technology here, you tell me, Peggy, and I'll repeat what I said so that everybody can hear what I'm about to say. So we'll start with that. So we have a little idea of how we're going to maneuver around this because everything was okay before this point, but it'll be okay because we're going to make it okay because now we understand what we're dealing with. So in saying that, I started at a very young age in this thing called hip hop. I am considered to be one of the 5 elements of hip hop. And in starting it up, it was one of those things that when it was created to save lives and to change the conditions of what was going on in the world at the time, especially in New York City. And my family is from Trinidad and also from Barbados. And as a kid, I grew up in Barbados and I grew up in New York City, but I was
Frozen. Doug, if you can hear us, you are frozen.
a lot of reggae, a lot of dance hall, and a lot of just tradition and culture. So in this tradition and culture, we was raised a certain way to have a lot of respect and a lot of love and appreciation for our parents, our grandparents, and just the way that we were taught how to act. We were taught to be respectful. So when you grew up in New York City, I grew up in Harlem. My grandfather came from Trinidad and he came into Harlem. And when he came into Harlem, he started to get into real estate. And when he got into real estate, he was very successful at it. And so I was raised in Harlem in a situation where, where I kind of like had nothing but family around me. Your uncle sitting there teaching you how to play chess, the family coming over every weekend and y'all sit down and talk and they want to know what you want to do. And it was that kind of family that wanted to know, do you want to go to this college? Do you want to go to that college? What are you looking at? But at the same time, I had family in the Bronx, and family in the Bronx was dealing with the conditions of gang wars and stuff like that. And with all of the gang wars, the gangs and stuff going on, I had brothers and sisters who were around that. So they would go to school and they would tell me the stories about how people would have fights with bats and chains and knives and and it really wasn't guns as much as it was like knives, bats, and chains back then from the way the stories would be told to me. So long story short, I started to hear these stories, but while I hear these stories, my brother used to bring home cassette tapes of a group called Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. And I used to sit there and listen to it while he would get dressed and he would, be with his friends and stuff like that. And then my sister would come home and then she said, everybody in the school is talking about this guy named DJ Hollywood. So when she said, I said, what does Hollywood do? She said, he rap. I said, tell me a rap he say. She said, he say he'll rap. It go, ring a ding a ding, the dong, the dong, dong, the dang, the dang, dang, the ding, the dong, dong. I said, wow, do that again. And I wanted to learn that rap, you know what I mean? So then I learned that rap. I listened to the tapes of Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. And then I just started to get into it. And then I wrote poetry in school. And I won an award called the Langston Hughes Award because I always wrote poetry. And while I was writing poetry, in the school that I went to, they had music programs. So the music program that I was in was one where the kids come in and they get a chance to say what they want to play. So when I went to the school, I said, I'd like to play the drums and the percussions. Out of nowhere, the music teacher told me, no, you're going to play the trumpet. And I said, like, what? Like, I just told you what I wanted to play. He said, no, you play the trumpet. And if you play the trumpet, then I'll let you play the drums and percussions. I said, okay. So I kept taking the trumpet home every day for a couple of months. Then one day I came to the school and the program was cut and the music teacher was gone. When the music teacher was gone, I was kind of shocked. I had to give back the trumpet. I didn't understand what was going on. But the exercises that I did from playing the trumpet, I used to walk home and listen to the mom and pop record shops as I walked up the street. And when I did, I started to mimic some of the music that I would hear, the bass lines, the drums, the keyboard sounds, the hits. And so I got so good at it that when I started hanging out with my friends who we wanted to be like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. So we would practice. And in between practicing, I started to do what was not called the beatbox at the time, but I started to kind of do that thing that I was doing in between while my DJ was changing the records. Then one day, my DJ Barry B, his mother came in and said, what was that beat I just heard? That beat is incredible. And she, she didn't say incredible, but she said that beat was nice. And then he said, that wasn't no beat, Mom. That was him. That was him. And then after that, she said, I don't know what that was, but it was nice. Keep doing that. And after that, he said to me afterwards, he said, yo, you should do that outside and you should call it the human beatbox. And then after that, I said, I'm not doing that. That sounds crazy. So then what happened is he talked me into it. I went outside. When I went outside, I did it in between him changing records like I did at his house. And when I did it, the whole projects they went crazy because we used to have parties outside. So when I did it, it was thousands of kids outside. So they all lost their mind. And that was the introduction to the human beatbox. Now, the reason why I'm saying this story to you is because of this. I always ask myself, would I have created the beatbox if the trumpet wasn't, if the music program wasn't cut from the school? And I realized in my mind that the way hip hop was created was because of the circumstances. So the circumstances put us in a position where we had to be creative because everything was falling apart. And if we didn't create something to keep ourselves engaged and happy, or to invent other ways of doing things, then we would have nothing. We would have just gotten, sucked into the circumstances. So I always tell people this poem because I think it really describes hip hop in a way that it could never be described any other way. I say, we the willing, led by the unknowing, are doing the impossible for the ungrateful. We have done so much for so long with so little that we are now qualified to do anything with nothing. So hip hop as a whole, as we look at it in this 50-year time span, is something that
Doug, we just lost you.
okay. Can you hear me?
Okay, it's something that.
Okay.
Nope, you're frozen. Oh, no, there you are. Doug, Doug, can you hear us?
So I
Hello.
can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now. So you're saying in that 50 years,
Yeah, in the 50 years, and I'm sorry about this. I mean, I don't see no signs of the internet not working, but we're gonna keep rolling. In that 50-year time span, when you look at it, all of these things were created to save lives. So the blueprint of the reason why I do hip hop and what hip hop represents to this moment now for me as it did before is to save lives, to create opportunities. So now it's a multi-billion-dollar business. That's just one aspect of it. You got to think about all the guys that would have been in the street that are no longer in the street, the creative dancers, the creative writers, the people who are the creative actors who had tough upbringings, rappers who were brilliant poets and writers who, in another situation, would not have been able to express that side of themselves. The artists like Basquiat, he was a graffiti artist. You know what I'm saying? So you got to look at the depth of what's going on. The mind-blowing times when people see Michael Jackson do the moonwalk. That was hip hop. That's what we did in the park. When people do the Dougie out of dance, that's me at the rooftop. When you look at these things, you see something beautiful that came out of tough circumstances. So I just think that when we celebrate this 50-year anniversary of hip hop, we should understand the foundation that it was built on. I always tell people it's hard to stand up straight in a crooked house. You know what I mean? Because you have to understand what happened, why it happened, and where we are. Along the way, there's been some twists and turns, but look at the lives that have been affected by hip hop. Look how the world is a different place. Just even on a level from a racial standpoint, it broke down barriers in regards to that. I mean, Run DMC did over Aerosmith's song and brought them back because we used to play that song in the park and we used to just cut up the top part of it. But through a suggestion of Jam Master Jay, Rick Rubin, and all of the other people that came in the studio, and it had nothing to do with the color of the person, it was the creativity. Rick Rubin was a creative guy, and he loved hip hop, and you had Jam Master Jay, who was in the street, who was one of the guys from around the neighborhood who was pulled out of that and put on tour, became a great DJ, and changed the course of Run DMC. Even the style of the way Run DMC dressed came out of Jam Master Jay. You know what I mean? So it's so deep when you think about it. The word hip hop, it came from Lovebug Starsky. It came from Cowboy, from Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. So it's so much history here that I just think it's so important that when we celebrate it, people have to understand the depth of the celebration. Kool Herc, he just wanted to throw a party for his sister in a little room. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like the story. So I'm honored to be the fifth element in it from a creative standpoint. And I don't think I would have done it without the help of my friends and my crew pushing me to do it. And I think when with what I created, then you had the Fat Boys, they made you laugh. You had the great Biz Markie, who's just one of my close friends and who were just incredible. And you got Scratch, and you got so many different you got a whole another world of beatboxes that I communicate with around the planet. So This is just something that, there's no real words to describe.
So Doug, can you talk about the other four elements, just in case there are people listening who may not be familiar with what all five elements are?
Yes, yes. One is the DJ, and the other one is the MC, which is the master of ceremony. And the master of ceremony is different than the rapper. Then you have the break dancer and the electric boogie, which when we did Beat Street or you seen Wild Style, you've seen a little bit of those elements. Then you have the graffiti artist. KRS-One was a graffiti artist. There's many hip hop artists that used to be graffiti artists. And the fifth element is the beatbox. And the reason why these are the five elements, because they come from a creative foundation. They don't come from, some people would say knowledge is an element, and that's true from the perspective that having knowledge of self, and it's supposed to be about peace, unity, love, and having fun. And that's great. That's the foundation of why hip hop was created. But as far as from a creative standpoint, these five elements is what make up the creative foundation of hip hop. And out of these five elements, something comes out of it, meaning like DJs don't DJ the same no more because.
Okay, you're frozen. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, DJs don't DJ the same anymore because.
Yeah, DJs don't DJ the same anymore because of hip hop, because of the way that this thing was structured. An MC who was a massive ceremony that would bring an act on and off is different now because of the way an MC.
Doug, you're frozen. Hello, hello. Can you hear us?
Draw and write.
Okay,
It
wait.
froze?
Yeah, so you're saying it's different now because?
Yeah, it's different because of the influx of creativity that came from these five elements. DJs don't DJ the same anymore. An MC rhymes, and he's a different kind of personality. When you look at break dancers, electric boogie changed the course of dancing. When you look at graffiti, it changed the course of the way we draw and write, the way that things are done. And then the beatbox, just using the natural spiritual element of us as you being the instrument, has changed the way we look at that as well. Can you hear me? I'm just making sure.
Perfectly.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry about the
No. We're rolling with it. And keeping it real. As you said,
yes.
So you had your first hit when you were like 14, right? And
right.
Most 14-year-olds aren't making hit records. So
no.
I'm curious, how that happened, if you could explain that to us.
Well, the first song I ever made, because I've been on multiple labels. I've been on, I can go through the list of labels. Some of y'all may know these labels. Some of y'all may be like, I never heard of that label. I was on, my first record was off of Pass the Dutchie. Pass the Dutchie on the left-hand side. And I'm not going to lie. When I was making that song, there was a guy named Van Gibbs, and he said, look, because Pastor Dutchie was he wanted to make it called Pass the Buddha. And Buddha was marijuana at the time. That was another marijuana at the time. So he would stand, he said, look, and it was Spoonie G, who, if y'all are studying hip hop, Spoonie G was one of the first guys to come out with a major hit around the time of Sugar Hill Gang. So, and it was a guy named DJ Spivey, who was from a crew called Magnificent Seven. So we're in the studio and he said, look, I need y'all to be inspired to do this record. I need y'all to feel the energy. So look, I want to pass this Buddha around to all of y'all. And as you rapping, you take a puff of the Buddha and then you go ahead and you rap. So we went in there and we was in there and we started rapping the song. And Pastor Dutchy was such a big song that this was the first time anybody took a reggae song and hip hop and pulled it together. And it was a guy named Van Gibbs who was the one who helped us do that. So that was the first record. And I was in the studio, and there's a producer named Salam Remy, who this is his father who had us in the studio. He's a very Salam produced the Fugees, and I can go on and on with his list with Nas and me, bunch of artists. Long story short, he was in there playing with instruments because he was a little boy. You know what I mean? So while he's playing with instruments, we in there singing past the Buddha. And it's like to see him now become who he is crazy. You know what I mean? And anybody that know, yo, let me tell you, when you've been doing this as much as for as long as I have, I've been on Enjoy Records. Enjoy Records is one of the first record labels to open up hip hop. They had Treacherous 3 on the label. They had Funky 4 plus one more. And there was only really 2 or 3 labels at the time. It was the Sound of New York, it was Sugar Hill Records, and it was Enjoy Records. So what happened is I was on Enjoy Records, I was on Streetwise Records, I was on Spotlight Records, I was on Ventertainment Records. I did something with Atlantic Records. Then I went, and obviously, Peggy, you know, I was on G Street. I was with Hammer with his Busted label. When he first started, we was trying to merge the East and the West Coast together. Then I went and got on Motown Records when Andre Harrell went there. And then when that fell apart, I left Motown, and then I started to tour with Prince, and I toured with Prince from 98, the end of 98, the beginning of 99, all the way until he transitioned. And I toured with him, and that was a whole nother thing. You know what I mean? We were about artists being free to create. Yeah. You know what I mean? So this been a journey, baby.
Yeah. So when did the light bulb go off when you realized you could actually do this for a living? Because you've never had a job, right? Like ever?
No. Now this right here that I'm doing, this is it. Because like I was saying about my family, I was gonna go to college for law. And right at the end, and when I was in the 11th grade going into the 12th, my career took off. So my school, my teachers got together and they said, no, you're going to graduate. Because I started to get pulled in all these directions. I was working with Harry Belafonte. I did Beach Street. I was doing different performances throughout the city. So what happened is that they got together and they let me take my work on the road. Teddy Riley was in school with me, my DJ Chill Will, a lot of the different people that was coming up at the time were in the school. So what happened is my teachers got together and gave me all my work. I took the work with me and finished it, and I graduated because I took the work with me on the road. But I have never worked for anyone. You know, I just, when I made my first records, when I made this show on Lottie Dottie, I took the money from local performances that I was doing and I just kept saving it. And then I went into the studio and I made these 2 records with my manager and producer at the time named Dennis Bell. And the engineer name was Ali Cotton. And we got together, I told him the idea. I grabbed Rick, because Rick used to chase me around and tell me how good he was. And I'd be like, man, I'll check you out, man. But he said, man, I'm telling you, I'm good, man. I'm good. I said, all right, I'm gonna get with you, but I gotta go do this other show. I go to the other show. I see Rick standing there like this. And I'll be like, yo, how did he beat me to my show, right? And then after that, he'd be like, yo, man, just check me out. So one day I took him over to Will's house. And I said, all right, let me see what you got. And it was a bunch of us MCs over there. And he started rhyming. And that was the first time I heard how he was crafting Lottie Dottie, how he was putting it together. And we couldn't stop laughing. So at that point, after it was over, everybody was in the room in shock at how good he was. And then at the end of the rhyme, he said, I told you I was good, man. I told you I was good. You know? And then I took him and I said, yeah, you good. So that I started writing the blueprint to the show. So I grabbed him, grabbed the DJs, stacked my money. I put it, and I went into the studio, and it came down to the final hour or 2 hours that I had to finish the record because I had no more money. And I finished the record. And when I finished the record, I took it to Profile Records at the time. And when I took it to Profile Records, he said, the record is terrible. He said, this record is terrible. He said, and this other thing, he said, who is this guy? He sounds strange. What is he? Because Profile Records had Run DMC, so they thought they was top. So after it was over, I said, okay, no problem. I took the record to an independent distributor, did a deal, which got me to own my masters and my publishing, which was unheard of at the time because most artists gave away their masters and their publishing. Me, I came in owning my masters and my publishing at that point because I paid for it myself. So what happened is when I did the deal, it came out 1985, exploded, and now we're talking about the #1 sampled hip hop song ever, and in the top 4 or 5 of most sampled songs ever in the history of music. And some people would say, the show is pretty much, and Lottie Dottie is pretty much in the top line of what people look at as the blueprint that changed the course of the way hip hop was done from a creative standpoint and from a style standpoint, which is a whole nother conversation. But I'm just saying that to say that, I never worked for anyone. I put my own money up. And once I did it, I bet on myself. It turned into something that words cannot express, because everything was about investing back into you. Making, if you knew that you were good at something or you had that gift and nobody believed in it, you got to pay to do it yourself. And that's how it started. I would ask the producers to do the music like I wanted them to do it. And they wouldn't listen to me. Because, see, this is really important for people to hear. I came from a time where, listen to the music before hip hop started. You had some of the most incredible musicians. You got Earth, Wind, and Fire. You got Isley Brothers. You got the Gap Band. You got Parliament. So when a kid from Harlem or from the Bronx is coming in and saying, no, don't play it like that. Do it like this. Do it like that. People are looking at you like, come on, man. Nah, you do it like I tell you. And I was trying to tell them, no, I needed to sound like this. So they didn't listen to me. So when they didn't listen to me, I said the only way that I could get this idea across correctly is I have to pay for it myself. So I came up with the idea, save my money, doing local shows, doing different parties. I put it all together, saved $10,000, went in there, and when I put the money on myself, it paid off, baby. It paid off. That's all I could say.
Like the ultimate entrepreneur, the original entrepreneur. We can add that to your list of titles.
But Peggy, I gotta tell you that the reason why I did it is because I could not get them to listen to me. The show came out when I was 17.
Yeah.
So they were looking at me like, look, kid, you don't know nothing about this, okay? Listen to me, do it this way, or we're not gonna do it. And I started saying, we can't do that because it makes me feel like my idea is not being expressed in the way that I seen it in my mind. And I knew that they didn't really live the experience of hip hop. They didn't know that part of the reason why music was changing is because this thing that James Brown was doing is the music would loop. And if the music looped every 4 to 8 bars, that's what made it funky. That's what made it hypnotic. To hear something go again. Like, so they didn't come from that era. They wanted to change it. So when I was trying to explain it to them, they were not listening to me. And so I said, you know what? In order for this to work, what I have to do is invest in myself because they're not going to get it. And then when I did that and it came out, the guy from Profile Records who said the song was terrible seen me at this club called the Roxy. For anybody that grew up that know hip hop, Roxy was an iconic spot. And so what happened is he came up to me and said, can I talk to you for a minute? I said, yeah. He said, I gotta tell you, I was so wrong. I could not see it. I didn't even see that record. I didn't understand it. And I said, it's okay. He said, man, if you got anything else, bring it to me. Bring it to me. I was like, I know, I appreciate it. I said, but I'm already doing my thing, you know? And he said, okay, I understand. He said, but I gotta apologize. He said, that record is unbelievable. He said, those records are unbelievable. And then that's when
Uh-oh. Doug, hang on. We lost you. Can you hear us? Doug.
grab Dana because he's a part of it. You see, so Dana, if anybody listening, you know, this is Hip Hop 50. I'm trying to give y'all as much jewels as possible here. You know what I mean? So Dana Dane is from the Kango crew, which him and Rick went to school together at Music and Arts. So my point is that I just think that when you have to trust yourself and know that you know. You can't guess on what you know, like you know. When you know, you know, you know. You see what I'm saying? Like you know. But when you like, and you let people talk you out of things, that to me is the breakdown. And in hip hop, people kept trying to talk us out of things. I mean, I come from the era when you would be rhyming on the mic. They'll be like, get him off the mic. Can you please get him to stop that rapping? Tell him to shut up. I don't want to hear that. We come from the era where hip hop was not popular. Yeah. Nobody liked it. Meaning the people seen the change. Even when I was with Prince, I had to sit down and teach him about hip hop. He kept asking me questions all the time. Why did that guy say that? What was this? And how is this? After he opened up to it, because for a minute, he came from that era that he didn't really get it. You know? So somebody said they got a question for me.
Well, I've got a question for you. So you perform hundreds of shows a year, really physical, absolutely, high energy shows where you rap, you dance, and you beatbox. That's an incredible pace for anyone, but especially for someone who's kept that pace for more than 20 years. Some days you do performances in different cities in the same day. I mean, I don't know,
Right.
are you an alien or are you real? But you're doing it. So the question is, what is your secret sauce to sustaining this level of energy and maintaining excellent health?
Well, that's a great question because, one of the other things that I study coming up is I studied the artists that came before me and what was the weak spot? What did they do? What didn't they do? And I seen that some of them took on a lifestyle of, drinking, smoking, eating without a balanced diet, heavy on the carbs and stuff like that. And once again, like I said, and I think it's from the West Indian side of my family, I studied herbs, vitamins, and I've always been fascinated by that stuff. I always, thought about the food that I ate. When I grew up in 80, I stopped eating chicken in 84. 84, I stopped eating chicken. So I haven't eaten any meat from 85 to this point of now. I seen that changing of the diet was very important because I started to see how, and then I performed with the Gap Band, Star Point, Atlantic Star, Midnight Star, um, Andre Simone, Mary Jane Girls, the Gap Band, Roger Troutman and Zapp. And I used to stand on the side and watch these guys, and I would watch them, the Barcades, Ready for the World, just all of these different groups. It's very interesting. Climax. And when I studied them, I would watch how some of them, would live a lifestyle that might be a little extreme. And then I looked at the hip hop artists and I said the similarity between them is that it's the lifestyle is extreme. There's things that they're doing that I don't see how you could keep this pace up and still do what you do at the maximum level. So at a very young age, when I seen it, I said, well, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I remember a friend of mine, and I won't say his name, but I remember when my record, The Show, came out, he said, it's time we celebrate, man. Yeah, man, we got to go and celebrate. And he pulled me out of this big party because he was a well-known hip hop artist. He's like, if I mention his name, you'd be like, wow, him. And he pulled me out because he was helping me along the way. And he took me to his house and he opened up the door and he opened up the door. He said, it's time to celebrate. He had some cocaine in a silver thing. And I said, nah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I got to get back to the party, man, because I got people there from this. He said, oh, okay. He said, I just thought we was going to celebrate, man. And then I realized that his form of celebration was from the old school because these guys used to come in there with the silver stuff and sniff cocaine. And then when I watched him and I watched how he rushed me out of the party to come to his house to do this, I said, man, why is he so, because I didn't really know a lot about that. I mean, I knew about it, but I didn't know the effects of it. I said, man, this guy here is just like, he just really pushed me to come to his house to do this. And then I started to see him constantly do it. So I was around the rise and fall of some of the greatest that ever done it. So me observing the rise and fall made me know to stay away from the alcohol, stay away from the cocaine, stay away from the drugs. I mean, and I'll be, completely transparent. As a kid, me and my friends tried to smoke marijuana one time and I felt paranoid after I smoked it and went home and went to sleep and felt hungry. I said, I ain't doing that no more. So I'm keeping it so real. You know what I'm saying? So I said, that ain't for me, yo. You know what I'm saying? Like they laughing and I'm looking around like, so I said, nah. So I went through enough of these experiences and seen the meltdown of some of the best that ever did it that made me say no. And then I started to look at how some artists who were looking really good and they were in shape and they were, you know, very strong, turn around and I'm seeing them eat certain things, and then I'm hearing about diabetes. I'm seeing about high blood pressure. I'm hearing about this artist is having problems with his back and he's walking and this and that. And so I started to put all of these things together, and I started to see that there was a big problem in hip hop, but in the music industry where artists were not taking care of themselves. And there would be this thing called emotional eating. And sometimes this is another thing. When we get off stage, we're hungry. So, but what your choices of food are in the middle of the night is limited. Waffles, pancakes, junk food, alcohol, and this became the diet of a lot of artists. So I started to study it and say, this is something that I have to put my discipline in to make sure that I don't allow myself to get caught with that. So when I'm able to do 2, 3 shows in a day, my record in 2 days, I did 14 shows in 2 days,
Oh my
you
God.
know, and it was crazy. It was at this event called CIAA in Charlotte, and it was 14 shows from the morning all the way through. And I'm talking about not light little things, but my level of discipline has been the thing to sustain me. My diet from 85 till now has never changed. Um, Me not drinking and smoking and doing any of those things, like I couldn't even do the beatbox or half of the things that I do if I was a person that smoked. It takes so much wind and so much control that can't even come into it. Me exercising um, for mental purposes, because somebody said mental health. Absolutely. People don't understand that exercise helps with mental issues. It helps to release tension and stress. It gives you the ability to observe things from a different perspective instead of just being in the moment and not being able to observe it from a different perspective. Um, some people know that if they don't exercise and they wake up and they got a terrible day, but when they exercise, they be like, oh man, I feel so much better. Damn, I'm glad we did that. Boy, I feel like I'm ready for the world now. Like it has that kind of power to shift all of your energy. So that's something that I practiced at a young age. I mean, I would take D Nice and my fellow hip hop artists, and we would be in there, and I would do this thing called 25 to 1. And when I would be on tour with Houdini, with Mo D, Rakim, LL, we would be in there and we would do stuff and say, okay, we're going to start with 25 push-ups, 25 sit-ups, 24 push-ups. And we would turn it into a game. And then they would come into my room and I would be a guy. I would have a juicer in my room. I would have salad sandwiches. I'd be like, come on, try it. I'm telling you, man, you're going to like this. And then I would be in there and I would have, because I would have people come to my room after it was over, after the show. And we would do exercise. Then I would show them about the water, carrying water. And I used to tell all of them, water is the recipe to life. So instead of carrying Old English at the time, because that was the beer of choice, I would carry the jug of water. And then they would be like, why is he carrying this water? But when I would perform, I would be hydrated, whereas some of them would be dehydrated, And I think a lot of what's happening is the lack of knowledge. And we just grew up doing certain things and we think that that's cool, but that cool act from a health perspective has been destructive to us and we didn't know any better. And that's what made me come up with this foundation called Hip Hop Public Health. And I formulated it with a doctor he's the head of neurology at Columbia. And when we got together, he was a different kind of doctor because once again, he drove up to my house playing music in his car loud, and he was playing Mobb Deep. I said, yo, who is this dude? He rolled down the window, and he's from Africa. He's Nigerian, and he playing. And I said, yo, I said, you know about Mobb Deep? He said, do I? And then he started running through the hip hop songs he know. And I said, okay. And I said, you know what? Me and him can get together and impact the world by using hip hop to educate children, adults, and everybody on how important it is to take care of yourself. And when we got together, we have been doing unbelievable work. We worked with Michelle Obama. We were the ones who put together the album for the Let's Move campaign that she did, which was one of the greatest things that I felt it was in the right direction for America to get healthier. You know, we included DMC, we had Chucky, Ashanti. We have so many different artists that have come on board, Salt from Salt and Pepper, to contribute in helping to educate children and adults about health and the benefits of taking care of yourself. Like, your life is so much more exciting and enjoyable when you don't have to worry about, do I have diabetes? I have high blood pressure? Or did I get a checkup? And amongst Black men never want to get checked up. And everybody know I'm trying to tell the truth. So I started to post, hey man, I'm going to get my prostate checked. Hey, I'm going to get a colonoscopy. Hey, check this out. Do y'all exercise? Here, what are you eating? And so all of these things have been opening up people's mind to understand how important their health is. And one last thing I want to say on this, because this is I feel as passionate about this as I do about hip hop overall, because I'm using hip hop to help people, you know, see the light in this. And
Oh, Doug, we've lost you. You're just a little frozen. Can you hear us?
the problem is that I never wanted to get checked out.
Wait,
Did I?
Doug, we missed all of that. Can you just
Okay,
repeat?
okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I said that, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I said that Kango from the group UTFO told me before he passed away, Dougie, try your best to let people know how important it is to get a checkup or to get a colonoscopy. He said, because if I would have done this when I seen the signs, I wouldn't be going through what I'm going through now. And right after he said that to me, not too long after, he passed away. Biz Markie had diabetes. He was on the road with us, and I used to always come at him. Yo, we got to change that diet, man. Got to change that diet. And some people, you know, it's difficult because you're used to doing the same thing. But if you get the right information, if you get the right support, you can change your diet. Some people think that they're doing the right thing, and you're not. And you're just making this thing worse. There was a guy, a promoter, who I was doing a show in Little Rock, Arkansas, and he had to cancel it the day of the show because he had to get rushed to the hospital because his sugar levels were through the roof. I spoke to him after. He said, yeah, Doug, this was crazy, man. It was really bad. He said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna stop eating that white bread. I'm only gonna eat the brown bread. That's what I'm gonna do. And in his mind, he thought that that was the solution. And he didn't realize that bread, white or brown, is nothing but a carb that turns to sugar, which is gonna take his sugar levels up. but he thought he was right. So what I'm saying is that I think that we don't have enough education on what we should and should not eat. And that is why hip hop public health was formulated. And one last thing is that we taught the kids so well with this technology, because I just took rhymes and beats and dances and I put them together. So when you go to these schools, the kids love it and they learn it. 7 kids saved their grandmother's lives from the rap that I put together about a stroke. To show them, I put a rap together to show them the symptoms of a stroke, to see the symptoms. And I did it like this. I said, F is for the face. In the face, you'll see the face droop. Say A is for the arm. Sometimes you'll feel a pain or a numbness in the arm. S is for the speech. You'll see a slur in the speech. And T is for the time. Time to do what? Call 911. So what happened is the kids learned to rap. They learned to dance because I made the beat hot. I made the rhyme like really, engaging and interesting. I didn't put it together like I'm just doing it quick. I made it like a real record. They took the rap and learned it and went home and seen their grandmothers in a situation where they seen the symptoms of the stroke and called 911 and saved their grandmother's life. I have 7 cases of that. So that showed me that the same way we grew up listening to Don't Push Me, 'Cause I'm Close to the Edge, and all these other songs, that if I say some of them, you'll finish the lyrics. I said, if I can do that in hip hop by having them at parties and dancing and singing la-di-da-di, I said, I could take that same technology, give it to the kids, or educate kids and adults to learn things that you never learned before that will be tools that can help you survive. So this is something that I'm very passionate about. And it all started from me seeing some of the things that was making people in hip hop fall. And it's something that I'm going to do even more now, because we lost Biz Markie. We lost, DMX, great DMX. We lost so many great artists just because of the conditions. I mean, even just now, I was just on tour with the Force Tour, and me and Bone Thugs and Harmony was together, and I can't even believe Crazy Bone is in the hospital. I mean, this is crazy, bro. I mean, this is like mind blowing. When I seen that, I said, yo. So this is an ongoing mission of mine to do whatever I can to make things better. We have to do what we can to make things better, because it's about quality of life. That I say that a lot, and people don't understand that quality of life means a lot, because you don't want to be around here feeling like I'm hurting every day, my back is this, and all you have to do is make some changes in your diet, or add a little exercise, pull back on this, because it's too much of that. Get with the right crew, that might not do the things that you're all supposed to be doing like that, So it's just life choices and stuff. So sorry if I got off a little bit too heavy.
No, that's perfect.
I just keep it so real.
No, that's perfect. I just want to make sure also that everybody knows that Hip Hop Public Health is doing a fundraising gala in New York City on November 1st. And I put the link to the organization in the chat. So, you can buy tickets there. Doug, I don't know if you're performing or you're hosting, but I just wanted to make sure that we let people know about it.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yes, I'm going to be hosting. perform, and I got DMC from Run DMC. He's passionate about it, because he had an issue where he was drinking Old English. Everybody knows the history. He had some issues with his health, and now he turned that around. Salt from Salt and Pepper, she'll be there. Shanti, she's going to perform, from what I understand, as well as Chuck D from Public Enemy. Everybody is using their platform and their power to make a difference. And I feel like as a kid growing up studying this, I never lost my way in understanding the importance of using hip hop as this powerful tool to impact and make change in the world, from, breaking down the walls of racism, showing the beauty of diversity, giving kids another chance to express themselves, whether they be autistic or whatever it is, and allowing them a platform to be their authentic self, and, and just continuing to keep watering and shining the light on all of the good that hip hop has done. We can get on this conversation and talk about the things we don't like about it, but we definitely have a whole lot to talk about the good things that hip hop has done. People ask me the question, how do you feel about hip hop today? And I tell people that hip hop is a very interesting study, because most people don't understand that it has seasons. The same way you have winter, spring, summer, and fall. That's how different styles come in. At one time when hip hop started, it was this party style. Then it turned into a message style. Then it turned into, the street gang story style, the drug dealer stories, and the what they call the gangster style. Then you got this style now where we're looking at it, but we understand that you got synthetic weed, you have pills in the street, you have lean that people are taking. And some of the artists didn't even understand the depth of when they're saying certain things, you speak it into existence. See, back in the days, here's another thing. Anybody that know hip hop, when Rappers Delight came out, he said, I got bodyguards, I got 2 big cars that definitely ain't the whack. I got a Lincoln Continental and a sunroof Cadillac. Now, what did he do? He talked it into existence. So hip hop artists have always had this power of being able to talk things into existence, good or bad. You don't believe me? Look at Biggie's album, Ready to Die. And then what happened when that happened? Then you got Eric B. and Rakim, Paid in Full. And then I can go on and on with this. It's a deep thing. So what we say, we have to be careful with, because it has impact. So sometimes the artists say things and we have to be conscious of it, because if we don't, it's gonna cause too much negative impact. Like 50 Cent, here's another one. Get rich or die trying. I think he got rich, right? But he almost died getting rich.
Well, Doug, I mean, this has been an amazing, I don't know, history lesson. I mean, I know we're after 12 o'clock, and I'm sure Tom, who we know is very punctual, is probably freaking out.
I never met a man more punctual than him. God.
And I really wanted to talk about your music, your new music, what you have coming up. And I'm sure there are questions. But I don't want to be the one responsible for making Tom's head explode. So
let me jump in here. Hey, Doug, we will stay here as long as you will. This has been absolutely riveting. I'm serious. Can you go on a little bit longer?
Yeah, I'll go on.
I should tell people Doug's actually at the airport. Like, seriously.
Right.
Okay, so thank you, Doug. Okay, well, so do you have a second to share with us what you're doing musically? If there's anything you'd like to share with us, we'd love to hear it. And I know there's some chat.
Well, yes, what I would like to say is this here, is that first of all, is I'm in the Admiral Lounge at the airport. And I'm here. And I said that if Peggy is going to have me in the smartest room, I'm going to make my way. I'm going to make this happen. I don't care if I got to hang out in the Admiral Lounge. So, first
You're
of
not
all,
really slumming it. Let's just be really clear about this. It's not the worst
look,
place to be.
well, well, I got to be honest with you. This is the smallest Admiral Lounge I have ever seen in my life. But the vibe is good, and that's what's most important. And I just wanted you to know, I appreciate you having me on here because, you know, I think that people don't fully. I think that unless we have these conversations, people don't know everything that went into something being what it is. Like when he introduced you and he said everything that you've done in the music industry and the different relationships, people don't know how deep it is because they have never, they're watching it. And sometimes it's because you make it look easy. You make it look like it's nothing, but they don't understand all that went into it. So when you're looking at hip hop, I'm trying to give people a little bit more of a reality of all of the different intricate things that have happened to make this thing become what it is in a very small window of time, and how genius it is on the behalf of all of the artists from all different walks of life and the people that embraced it to make it become what it is. I mean, this thing could have just been something that came and went, but it just continues to build. You know what I mean? So I have so much respect for, I say this all the time. I say I got love for the artists that I hear today, but I respect the pioneers that paved the way. And I do because nobody believed in it. Nobody even thought this thing would be what it is. And here we are 50 years later, So it's fascinating if you really, really pull it apart. And one of the things that I feel moving forward is being able to connect the generations is the next level for hip hop. So in order to do that, I needed to do it with people that I feel get it. So through, once again, Peggy connecting the dots, I got to meet Mr. David Porter, who is one of the greatest individuals, songwriters, and humanitarians on a level that I see him giving back so much, putting songwriting groups together, teaching kids about publishing. This is the same thing that I'm talking about with health. And he's doing it with the music industry. He's doing it with the younger generation, owning your masters, owning your publishing, because this is what he went through a time when he couldn't get his because of the way things went, and then it reverted back to him. So he wants to teach moving forward on some of these pitfalls that can destroy artists. So when you introduced me to him, and then I was very close friends with Isaac Hayes, so it made me say, man, this is incredible. And then I met Tony, Tony Alexander, who I find to be a very, very unique and a very sincere person who wants to do better. See, and this is the piece that I always tell people: you can be financially rich and spiritually bankrupt. And that's not a good place to be. And as much as we want to talk about how much money we can make, but your health is gone, your spirit is broken, you did so much dirt that you never helped nobody. Like, and none of this you could take with you when the game is over. You know what I mean? Like, did you really win or did you lose? So when I get with people like Tony, David Porter, and the people that I see that's on the same line, They have the same goals that I have. I want to use hip hop to make this planet better. That is the key to it, because it made the conditions in our lives better. It made the conditions of these ghettos and hoods that we grew up in so much better, that now if we could take that same thing and now open it up, and we can make the world better by using this as a tool. I need a team that's on the same page. So I joined Beetroot heavy hitters to assist me in being able to do what I'm about to do now. And I have a bunch of new music coming out where I'm combining the generations in a way that has never been combined, where I'm taking the first generation, the second generation, the third generation of hip hop, and the current generation, and combining them, because that's where we are now. Like when I said seasons in hip hop, we're at that point where in order for hip hop to survive to the next level, you have to combine these components. You cannot separate them. So my relationship with Jay-Z or with Lil Wayne is just as strong as it is with Grandmaster Flash or DJ Hollywood or Melly Mel. I have a relationship or relationships that transcend time. I have these kind of interesting relationships with Kendrick Lamar, as well as the new rapper that's in the projects, that's in there working on his drum machine, trying to get his flow down. So because of that relationship, I feel in a platform like Beetroot, the creative process is going to be now the next level, because this new generation needs the original generation, because they cannot keep doing what they're doing and survive. You can't have the death of one of the Migos and have health issues and have all these things. And we've been through that. We know how this works. Skylar Rock got murdered. We seen it. Jam Master Jay. We can go through generation after generation. Tupac, Biggie. Like I've seen from one extreme to the next. So if we don't connect these dots on a business level as well as creatively, and take more responsibility, which is in taking responsibility gives you the ability to respond in the proper way. And the goal is to make sure that we don't invalidate the new artists. We support them in a way that they know that it's love there. But we don't want you to hurt yourself. We don't want you to destroy yourself. We don't want you to overdose or commit suicide, because you can't handle it. Because somebody down there said mental illness. Yes, that's real. In real time, that's real. I was just with Lizzo, and I was talking to her. And when I was talking to her, because she was going through some different things, we keeping it real. This is the smartest room. We going to keep it 100%. I told her, I was talking to her, and she knows me and she knows my spirit. And I said, Lizzo, you're in a spot where you got to block out the noise. I said, if you don't block out this noise, it's going to overwhelm you. I said, and I know how you feel because you're trying to look out, but while you're trying to look out, people are trying to take advantage. Oh my God, I needed to hear this. I needed to hear this. And she felt she needed to hear it because she knew I wasn't coming there trying to ask her to do a song with me. I wasn't trying to ask her for nothing. I was just trying to give her some jewels to help her understand what I already understand. So I was with Travis Scott, and he was telling me how everything he went through, psychologically, what that did to him. And he was telling me, man, I'm just always trying to find peace, dog. And so the reason why I'm saying this is because whether it was back then or it's now, It's the same thing. But the missing element is nobody is talking to nobody. So this is why if you're able to communicate with them and you're able to create with them, you can change this whole planet. You can change the conditions of what's going on. So I feel with a team like a jewel, like Mr. Porter, who has a tremendous amount of information, you know, with Tony, he's serious, man, for what he do. And the team of all of us coming together, you know, my concept is if everybody does a little, nobody got to do a lot. And we come together and formulate stuff. So music, videos, I have so much stuff coming out. I have so many different things. I have a whole new understanding of how I'm going to let the music out, because as much as people see me as a teacher, I'm a student first, you know? So I'm always listening and always trying to learn, because I think that's the key to longevity. I think, you know, people ask me about longevity all the time. How you been doing this since you was a kid and you're still doing 200 shows a year? I tell them humility increases your ability. Because if you're able to stay humble and let people pour into you, you can grow so much. But when you think you know everything, when you think you are the smartest person in the room, you're usually not. That's one for you. That's one to hold on to. When you think you are the smartest person in the room, then ain't nobody in the room can help you, right? So the goal is to come into the room from a humble space and let people help you become the smartest person that you can ever be, so that you can help make this world a better place. And that's what hip hop was put here to do. And that is the mission that I'm on. It's bigger than a record. It's about changing the world with this gift that God has given us to make this place a better place, you know? So that's kind of like my summarized. I don't want to go too hard. I don't want to go too soft either. So
We're just keeping it real, right, Doug?
hey, look, you don't have to do no preparation when you keep it real.
Right. Wow. Well, thank
You
you.
know.
I just can't thank you enough for your time. And I know the effort and the mission to get off the plane and get to the Admirals Club and to just be 100% focused on this. And we're so appreciative for you and all that you've learned and all that you give to the world
Thank
every
you.
single day, and the joy you bring and the positive attitude. It's just that energy is contagious. And it's really, really important to have that in a divisive, sometimes difficult world. So just thank you for
I
that.
appreciate it. No,
And
thank you. Thank you for having me, Peggy. I really appreciate it. And I gotta say, I mean, I know this may not mean a lot, but look, when you get a little bit of extra time with this man here who is on time, I mean, like, he was looking at the clock, y'all, counting it down. He said, I don't stop. He said, if I say 11, it's 11. And, so I gotta say, I appreciate the time. And one of the things I learned about time, which is interesting, I learned something that I never, that seemed, I'm learning something new every day. I learned that in life, it's not how much time you have, it's what you do with the time. That is a lesson I learned. It's not how much time you have, it's what you do with the time. So I appreciate the time that everybody has given me to hear what I have to say, and hopefully it can make things better for you.
thank you, Doug.
Amen. Hey,
Thank you.
Peggy, that's a perfect mic drop right there. Hey, to the audience, I promised you a special treat today, and you sure got one. Doug, thank you for the music. Thank you for the life lessons, the wisdom. I have 1,000 more questions I would have loved to have asked you, but out of respect for your time, we're going to cut this off. You are absolutely incredible. And thank you, thank you, thank you for just being who you are, and keep doing it for many more years. Keep that health up too. All right.
That's right. Thank you, sir.
I want to thank everybody who showed up. I really appreciate it. I see a lot of names in there, people I know and love and treasure, and it's just really cool to see everybody in the house. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
All the
thank
best,
y'all for
folks.
having me. Thank you. And remember, your health is your wealth, and you get wealth from your health.
Amen.
That's the real one, because sometimes, you're running around chasing the money and you're destroying yourself. So your health is your wealth, and you get wealth from your health. That's what I've learned also.
All right. Well, we're going to sign off. Thanks again, everybody. Thank you, Doug.
All right.
Thank you, Peggy. Safe travels.
Thank you.